Money. We touch it every day. Coins, notes, cards, and now digital numbers on a screen. But what if I told you that 5,000 years ago, people were already paying salaries, writing financial contracts, and even taking loans with interest? And no, they didn't use coins. They didn't use cash. They used silver shekels. Today, we're traveling back to ancient Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, to uncover the world's first financial system. And trust me, it will sound surprisingly modern. A flat land between two mighty rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates. Floods nourish the soil, creating one of the richest farmlands in history. Here, some of the first true cities rise: Uruk, Babylon, Ur. Streets are crowded with farmers bringing grain, shepherds leading flocks, potters carrying clay jars. But barter, trading wheat for goats, doesn't work in a city with thousands of strangers. The system is messy. How do you measure the value of one man's grain against another man's sheep? Mesopotamians needed something new, something universal, and their answer was silver. Now, the shekel wasn't a shiny coin with a king's face. Not yet. In fact, coins didn't exist for another 2,000 years. The shekel was a unit of weight, about 8 grams of silver. Imagine merchants standing in a marketplace with tiny bronze scales, weighing little chunks of silver against barley, wool, or beer. That was commerce. A shekel could buy a worker's monthly wages, or a few liters of barley beer, the favorite drink of Mesopotamians. Silver was rare enough to be valuable, but available enough to be trusted. More importantly, it was durable, divisible, and universal. The first true money wasn't made by kings. It was made by necessity. But the story doesn't end at marketplaces, because in Mesopotamia, money didn't just pass from hand to hand. It began to pile up in temples and palaces. Yes, temples, the house of the gods, doubled as banks. Priests weren't just spiritual leaders. They were financial managers. Farmers deposited silver as offerings, and temples stored it in great vaults. Soon, temples started lending this silver to merchants and farmers, with interest. And this wasn't small money. Clay tablets reveal contracts where merchants borrowed silver for long-distance trade. A caravan could carry silver from Mesopotamia to Anatolia, return with copper or tin, and repay the temple with interest. The first credit system in human history was run by priests, under the eyes of their gods. Miss a payment, and you weren't just in debt. You were in divine debt. Now here's where it gets dark. Because where there's money, there's debt. Many farmers borrowed silver against their future harvests. If the rains failed, or invaders destroyed crops, they couldn't repay. And when they couldn't repay, the consequences were brutal. Families were forced into debt slavery. Fathers, mothers, even children sold into labor until the debt was repaid. This became such a problem that Mesopotamian kings sometimes had to step in and declare debt cancellations, wiping out what people owed to give society a fresh start. Imagine a king announcing, "All loans are forgiven, all slaves are free." We even see this in the Code of Hammurabi around 1750 BCE, one of the earliest written law codes. Hammurabi set strict rules on loans, contracts, and interest rates. It was the world's first attempt to control the chaos of finance, and yet, the patterns feel familiar. Loans, contracts, defaults, bailouts. Sound like the silver shekel wasn't just currency, it was the seed of civilization's financial future. From Mesopotamia, the idea spread. Babylonians used silver weights, Persians refined taxation, Greeks invented coinage, and Romans built sprawling financial empires. But Mesopotamia's influence runs deeper. The very word shekel survived 5,000 years. It's still the name of Israel's currency today. And think about this. Every time you sign a contract, every time you borrow money, every time you pay interest, you're repeating a story first written in clay by a Mesopotamian scribe thousands of years ago. So next time you pay with cash, swipe a card, or scan a QR code, pause for a moment. Remember the dusty markets of Uruk. Remember the silver scales balancing tiny chunks of metal. Remember the farmers who dreamed of a good harvest and the priests who played banker for the gods. The first money wasn't just silver. It was trust. It was debt. It was the story of humans learning how to measure value and how to put a price on life itself. And it all began 5,000 years ago with the silver shekels of Mesopotamia.